Good morning. Welcome to the King's Report News Hour for the 22nd day in the seventh month of Chungi and the seventh month of the Hamlet calendar and the 16th year of Chungi. Tim Elder sitting in for the second king of Chungu, Kyung Jin-hoon. And so let's first take our tour around the kingdom, as we usually do. And right now, in Chongpyeong, Tennessee, it is have 58 degrees and clear. 83 for a high today, areas of morning fog, otherwise mostly sunny. Tonight, clear and partly cloudy, low of 56. And then father's hometown in Cheongju, North Korea, or what today is North Korea. It is 80 degrees and mostly clear. Getting down to 61 tonight with increasing cloudiness. Tomorrow, clouds and sun with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm mainly later. Not as warm but humid, high of 80 degrees. And at the Chunnigung Palace in Northeast Pennsylvania, 54 and mostly cloudy right now. 78 for a high today, pleasant with times of clouds and sun. Partly cloudy and low of 52 tonight. And then at the Liberty Rock RV Park and Campground in Limestone County, Texas, currently 70 degrees and clear. 93 for a high today, under partly sunny skies, and then tonight mainly clear and low of 68. Suncheon Palace in Korea, 80 degrees and mostly clear right now. And it looks like it's a bit of rain right now, but it's probably going to stop in a few minutes. And 73 will be the low tonight, an evening shower in spots, otherwise mostly cloudy and very humid. Tomorrow, very warm, very humid, some sun, then turning cloudy, high of 89. At the Gunma Palaces in Japan, 75 and cloudy right now. An evening shower in spots, otherwise cloudy and humid, low of 72 tonight. And then 90 degrees for a high tomorrow. A couple of morning showers, otherwise very humid and clouds, followed by brightening sky. And in Ilan, Taiwan, in the Republic of China, 87 degrees and clear right now, and remaining clear through the night, low of 77. Tomorrow, partly sunny and hot, passing shower 2 in the afternoon, high of 94. All right, yes, yes. And it is still quite hot today. Today I had a chance to go to, I wouldn't call it a beach because there's no sand. It's just gravel. Not a whole lot you could, not a whole lot you could do there, but there were people running around in ATVs, and there were people, some small sort of a rubber dinghy type boats that they were using to go out into the water. But what was interesting to me was that we're on the shore of the Pacific Ocean, and wind is coming in off the ocean, and the wind is hot. Normally, you think that the wind coming in off of an ocean is going to be cool, but no, it is hot. Water holds temperature uh, uh, longer than air, and so water tends to be warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer. But I guess we're sort of at the end of summer here in Taiwan, and so I guess now the water has had a chance to get quite warm, and so maybe that's what's heating up the air as it passes over the water right now. But it was a interesting experience for me today. Anyway, so let's go to Father's Word, and um, let's see. I'm in the book on true families. Get some light on this. True families, chapter 6 and section 7. Okay. The best time for marriage. Listen up. From when does love connect? I'm having trouble reading here in just a minute. Okay. So, the all-knowing and all-powerful God has created a time in which human beings can blossom very beautifully. And that is the 청춘 시대. So 청춘 시대, 청춘 would be, 청 is young and chun is spring. But I think normally we think of the 청춘 시대 as a kind of late teens, perhaps early 20s, but especially late teens, I guess. So that would be the time that human beings are able to flower at their most beautiful. So God gave us the 청춘 시대, this late teens and early 20s, as a time in which we could that we could cultivate our own happiness. And he has given us the blessing called marriage as a gate through which we could pass into happiness during this time of youth, of late teens, early 20s. Okay, so I guess that gives you an idea of when is the best time to get married. Yeah. So, as the king has been saying, marry early, have lots of kids. Yeah. All right. Yeah, and I was discussing with someone recently that Korea demographically has basically passed the point of no return. It has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. It's not the only country, of course. Japan, China, U.S., Europe, a lot of countries are in this similar situation. But uh, as I think you've heard many, many times, the replacement rate, in other words, the number of babies that a woman on average, should have during her lifetime, so as to maintain a population, is about 2.1. Some people say 2 point, depending on the on infant mortality and other factors, but 2.1, 2.2, something around there. Not exactly two, because not all children who are born reach adulthood or are able to have their own children. So basically 2.1, 2.2. And of course, and also, I recently read that no civilization in history has fallen below 1.9 for an extended period and managed to recover from that. And of course, Korea is not only below 1.9, but it is actually below 1. It's actually below 1. So Korea is not going to recover. And not the only country that's going through this situation, but we can say though that that the population of Korea, at least the population of uh, how shall we say it, the Koreans who are currently living on the Korean Peninsula uh, are not going to be here 1,000 years from now. 1,000 years from now, that's very clear. And so who is going to be here? Well, someone's going to be here because it's a you know fairly nice place to live in a temperate zone and weather and so forth. So unless the weather goes through some sort of a drastic change or some other drastic change occurs, someone's going to be living on the Korean Peninsula. But most likely, it's not going to be the people who are living there now. And I am of the opinion that well, since True Father was born on the Korean Peninsula, and this is the homeland of uh, of God and the homeland of True Father, that blessed central families will be populating this area, this peninsula, 1,000 years from now. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see. We'll have to see. All of us who are, me, you, everyone, will be observing this from the spirit world. So we cannot really predict what is going to be happening now. Okay. Anyway, let's go to what is going on right now. And certainly the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a historic event, and it's probably going to go down in history on a similar level to the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., of Robert F. Kennedy Sr., and John F. Kennedy, and so forth, the people who were assassinated, or famous people who were assassinated in the latter half of the second half of the 20th century. This would, I think, Charlie Kirk's assassination is going to be considered one of the most important events of the first half of the 21st century. And I wanted to go through his wife's message today to begin with. This is quite a brave woman, I think, uh, for a wife to be able to, with two young children, to be able to stand up like this in public and give this kind of a strong message so soon after her husband's untimely death and tragic death, which was witnessed by at least one of her children, I think is uh, something that, well, this is actual bravery. I mean, the left, says your people are brave if they reveal that they are actually transgender or actually homosexual or something like that. They call those people brave. But I think Erica Kirk is the definition of bravery, and not those fake brave people that the left likes to hold up. I want to go through this Fox article on her message. Erica Kirk, the widow of the late Charlie Kirk, gave an emotional tribute to her husband and declared that his mission will not end at Turning Point USA's headquarters Friday. It was her first public statement since her husband's assassination on Wednesday at Utah Valley University. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die, Kirk said. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. No one will ever forget my husband's name, and I will make sure of it. It will become stronger, bolder, louder, and greater than ever. My husband's mission will not end, not even for a moment. My husband's voice will remain, and it will ring out louder and more clearly than ever, and his wisdom will endure. She delivered a steely message to the evildoers responsible for her husband's death, proclaiming that they have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea, she said. You have no idea what you have just unleashed across this entire country. Speaking at a podium next to the desk where her husband conducted his popular podcast show, Kirk said that Turning Point USA, the grassroots organization her husband co-founded, will continue with its fall campus tour as planned, and said that there will be even more tours in the years to come. The group's annual America Fest conference will also continue as planned, which will be held in December in Phoenix, and Charlie's popular weekly podcast will also continue. Kirk, who spoke to President Donald Trump Thursday, also told the president she wants to keep alive her husband's grassroots organization. During her address, she remarked how much Charlie loved the president and how much the president loved him in return. Kirk also praised her late husband for his work ethic and his presence as a father and husband. She recounted that on a daily basis he would ask her how he could be a better husband and father. Now that's really pretty impressive to me. Now and for all eternity, he will stand at his Savior's side wearing the glorious crown of a martyr, Kirk remarked Friday evening. Charlie loved life. He loved his life. He loved America. In addition to his wife, Charlie leaves behind two small children. Charlie co-founded Turning Point USA in 2012, and about 6 years before he and Erica met in 2018. Charlie reflected at a TP USA event once on the moment he realized Erica was the one. We had a very, very long dinner, which was very close to almost an interview. And no, you're going to laugh, but you should absolutely interview for your spouse. If they don't check the boxes, move on and go to the next one. Dating for dating's sake is bad for you. It's bad for them. It's bad for everybody. Kirk said, and when asked about how he knew Erica was the one. 5 years ago today, we sat inside Bill's Burgers in New York City, deep in conversation and banter over theology, philosophy, and politics. And at the end, you paused, looked at me, and said, "I'm going to date you," Erica wrote in a social media post in 2023, reflecting on the pair's first date. She also shared several photos of the two together. Erica frequently supported Charlie at his events and was present at Utah Valley University Wednesday when he was shot. Erica is the host of a weekly podcast called Midweek Rise Up, the founder of a faith-based apparel company called Proclaim, and heads a Christian ministry called Bible 365, according to her website. She was an NCAA women's basketball player at Regis University in Colorado, and later transferred to Arizona State University to earn dual majors in political science and international relations. She earned a master's degree in American legal studies from Liberty University in Virginia, where she is pursuing a doctorate in Bible studies. In 2012, she was crowned Miss Arizona USA. As she concluded her remarks Friday, Erica promised her late husband that she will never let his legacy die. "I'll make Turning Point USA the biggest thing that this nation has ever seen," she said. "I love you, baby. Rest in the arms of our Lord." That's quite a strong message. And I cannot think of another instance where the wife of a person assassinated has come out like this so strongly. so especially so quickly, just a couple of days after the incident. Jackie Onassis, no, absolutely not. Um, I'm thinking of JFK's wife, um, and also Robert Kennedy's wife. No, she was also in a mess after her husband was killed. Um, Now this is a kind of a Nancy Reagan, but this is even stronger than Nancy Reagan. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how God is going to use this woman in the future. I think she's going to be doing great things. I don't know if she will be running for public office, but if she does, I think she's going to have a tremendous effect on politics. But in whatever field she chooses that she works in, from now on, I think she'll be a tremendous powerhouse. Of course, right now she has two small children that she has to raise as a mother, uh, as a single mother, and that's going to be difficult in itself. So I think she certainly deserves our prayers, but also our gratitude that she's keeping this great movement alive. Okay. I wanted to also go over this story related to Charlie Kirk about the reaction within the White House staff immediately after the incident. White House in agony over Charlie Kirk assassination as Trump and aides mourn. Let me bring this up a bit. Not long after Charlie Kirk was shot and killed by an assassin, President Donald Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, convened the White House staff to address a team in agony. She faced a room full of red eyes as if each had just lost a family member. Kirk was more than just another MAGA ally. 31-year-old star conservative influencer was a close friend to many White House aides, someone they knew personally, talked to regularly, admired enormously, and so central to Trump's movement that he sometimes felt like a colleague or a brother. Go home, hug your children, hug your spouse, be careful, take precautions, and don't let your voice get softer, Wiles said, she told the White House staff, recounting the meeting on the Scott Jennings radio show. Charlie would want everybody to speak as they had been and more. On September 10th, news spread quickly in the White House that Kirk was shot. Some saw the alerts on television in the West Wing, others on social media, according to White House staffers who discussed the events on the condition of anonymity. Staffers frantically searched for updates on his condition. They hoped and prayed for the best. Nearly 2 hours later, their worst fears were confirmed. Some cried when they learned Kirk had died. It was Trump who broke the news to the public in a post on his Truth Social account. And so Trump said he would be attending Kirk's funeral services next week, which are expected to take place in Phoenix. And J.D. Vance and his wife, the vice president, accompanied Erica, the widow Erica, and the casket too, from Salt Lake City to Phoenix on Air Force Two. The White House has treated Kirk's death as a death in the MAGA family. Not only did Trump announce his passing 2 days later on September 12th, Trump broke the news that the suspect was in custody. Okay. Now, so this is the kind of uh, heterosexual two-parent family that I've been emphasizing should be considered the solution to many of our social ills, if not most or all of our social ills. But unfortunately, there is a but. On the other hand, the person who has been who is now the suspect in this assassination is also the product of a two-parent heterosexual two-parent family. So that's the kind of the situation that we have to look at a little more deeply to find out a little more closely what kind of family we need to help people achieve. I put a link in the description below in this particular broadcast of it's actually an edited version of a talk that the second king recently gave about what's the exact title? How to Oh boy, I put it there. I cannot memorize things these days. I cannot memorize things at all. Let's see here. Let me go to it so I can make sure I get it right. Unlocking the secret of marriage through the spine. That's it. Unlocking the secret of marriage through the spine. And I put the link is in the description below this video that you are watching. I hope that as many people as possible will watch that. I was present when the king gave the talk, and I was truly impressed. And as I was um, listening, I really wish that my children, who are right now married, and fortunately they have appear to have pretty good marriages, but I really wanted them to be able to watch this video or to hear this talk. Um, it's interesting to me that I've been saying that this was had a high probability of a situation where a number of people were involved, and at least according to what the FBI has told us so far, and can we believe the FBI? How far can we believe them? But what we've been told so far is that he committed the act. He came down off the roof, went into a wooded area, dumped his rifle there, together with some ammunition, uh, and then got in his car and drove 4 hours to his home. And his father was watching television, I guess, or his father saw the sort of photographs put out by the FBI, recognized his son in the photographs, and confronted his son. And the son confessed, or at least acknowledged that he had done it. And the son also indicated that he uh, might want to take his own life, as many of these murderers do. So the father decided actually, the father contacted their minister, who happens to be a state trooper. And so, the law enforcement authorities came and picked him up. I think it is. Uh, I'm sure it must have been very painful for the parents to hear that. And I don't know. I haven't heard about his mother. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe this is not a two-parent family. I don't know. But at least for the father, I'm sure it must be very painful to have to report his son in this way. But certainly have to give him credit for dealing with this situation in a righteous manner. And right now, even I don't know if even is the right word, but General Flynn is now coming away from this possibility that foreign forces may have been involved. Let me read his most recent um, X X post on this. I guess we're not calling them tweets anymore, are we? That seems like a good name, but it's too bad. So, attention, subject: who is fomenting the violence in America? The infestation runs broad and deep. The question is, who is pulling the strings? Because we are going through a color revolution here in America that is being directed slash facilitated from somewhere. And the institutions whose purpose are to protect the country appear to be part of it. Quote, if the FBI did not support Antifa, quite simply, Antifa would not exist. They are right here, highly visible, doing illegal things on camera repeatedly all over the country, and the FBI doesn't lift a finger to stop them. Why? The only thing that makes sense is that the FBI wants this activity to take place. And he's tagged AG Pam Bondi, FBI Director Cash, and real Donald Trump. So who is fomenting this? I have a story in the Federalist that sort of tries to answer that question. Here we are. He may have pulled the trigger, but Charlie Kirk's suspected killer didn't act alone, in quotes. Right? The alleged radicalized assassin did not get to this moment on his own. Investigation details show a young man steeped in leftist dogma. It's interesting. He attended college for one semester. He was he was sort of going in the direction of becoming an engineer, but he dropped out after one semester, and it's not clear what he was doing after that. At least I haven't seen what he was doing after that. Anyway, let's see here. After an intensive multi-day manhunt, law enforcement officials on Friday said they had taken into custody conservative icon Charlie Kirk's killer. Now, to be clear, they actually had him. Well, I guess yeah, it was Friday evening that they picked up. Yeah, police police assert 22-year-old Tyler Robinson acted alone in assassinating the Turning Point USA founder, but did he? Authorities said Robinson's roommate shared with investigators the alleged cold-blooded killer's communications on messaging app Discord. In them, the suspect discusses a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush. Messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and the message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. At a press conference Friday morning, Utah Governor Spencer Cox said investigators found a Mauser Model 98 3006 caliber bolt action rifle with a mounted scope in a wooded area on the Utah University campus where Kirk was fatally shot. Cox said the inscription on the fired casing read, well, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. Two unfired casings found next to the rifle wrapped in a dark towel included separate inscriptions and so forth. And these inscriptions apparently indicate that he considered Kirk to be a fascist for one thing. This "O Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Bella Ciao, Ciao, Ciao." This is an anti-fascist song in Italian. But if we remember, what fascism actually looks like, not what the left wants us to think recently, but what it actually looks like. Fascists use violence and especially murder to achieve their political goals, right? That's what fascists do. Remember Hitler's Kristallnacht and stuff like that, and other violent acts that were committed by the Nazis. And so they get thugs and gangs and then terrorize the population and so forth. So by that description, it's actually this assassin who seems to fit the definition of fascist more closely, far more closely than Charlie Kirk, who was actually advocating nonviolence. But of course, to progressives right now, a fascist is anyone who either disagrees with them or refuses to affirm their beliefs. For a while, you were a fascist if you wouldn't wear a mask, right? I think that maybe that has passed, but I don't know. So, so still they keep calling non-fascists fascist, and they are acting in a very fascist manner. So that's but they cause this confusion with their reversal of the language, right? As the Blaze's Oren McIntyre put it, the shooter appears to have been radicalized by a leftist terrorist network and it seems like he may have also coordinated with them for the attack. The FBI should be going scorched earth on them as we speak, McIntyre wrote on X. Lists, names, raids, arrests, action, no excuses. I agree. What happened to this kid when he was in college during that first or that one semester that he was in college? College is a place that brings together all sorts of really, frankly, nutcases. I'm sorry, but yeah, yeah. I mean, especially if you're living in a dorm, you're going to be exposed to a lot of nutcases. I remember my own college days, and if someone does not have a firm anchor in some sort of a healthy ideology, such as Father's teachings, they could, and they are very easily swept away into these radical ideologies. Even if the alleged assassin acted alone, he surely did not get to this moment on his own. We know so far from the early details of the investigation that the suspect appeared steeped in Marxist Antifa style indoctrination. The Federalist editor in chief, Molly Hemingway, said the stunning murder of the 31-year-old conservative leader needs to be a wake up call to Congress. We need to see a lot of weakness. We've seen a lot of weakness and impotence on the right. So Republican leaders need to not just stand up there and say, "Oh, we must condemn." Both sides do these things. Having told Fox News Network's Stuart Varney this week, they need to actually take the threat from left-wing activists very seriously. They need to investigate how they're funded. Antifa, other terrorist groups, they're going to war against ICE. They tried to kill Donald Trump. They've successfully killed Charlie Kirk. President Trump earlier this week said his administration planned to investigate funding sources of violent far left campaigns, noting leftist billionaire George Soros and his, quote, nonprofits, unquote. We're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO racketeering case against him and other people because this is more than protests. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street. And we're going to look into that, Trump told Fox News. Representative Glenn Rothman, a Republican of Wisconsin, a member of the House Oversight Committee, told the Federalist he believes it is long past time for Congress to take a closer look at the activities and funding sources of leftist extremist organizations. Kirk's assassination has made that effort all the more urgent. Representative Chip Roy, a Republican of Texas, wants the House to form a select committee on the money, influence, and power behind the radical left's assault on America and the rule of law. In the wake of numerous attacks on our way of life, the destruction of the rule of law, and the murder of innocent Americans, prominent and unknown alike, we must take every step to follow the money and uncover the force behind the NGOs. It stands for non-government organizations, donors, media, public officials, and all entities driving this coordinated attack, Roy said Thursday in a press release. The patterns are undeniable. We are witnessing a sustained breakdown of law and order, fueled not by chance, but by anti-American ideology, Roy wrote in a letter to Speaker Mike Johnson and to Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan and Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. Of course, we witnessed the 2024 assassination attempt on President Trump as well as the 2017 shooting of Republican lawmakers at baseball practice, but it goes well beyond politicians and to the people themselves. He noted that targets placed on Kirk and the Family Research Council by the Southern Poverty Law Center, yes, after SPLC, an influential leftist hate group, added the two to their hate map. He also noted Marxist networks such as Antifa have organized, funded, and deployed sophisticated terror campaigns attacking law enforcement and destroying American cities. The lawmaker said the best option is a standalone committee with a full authority to investigate. Its members should have prosecutorial and law enforcement backgrounds, and the committee should be granted full subpoena power, Roy noted. We can no longer pretend to be bound together by shared ideals when a well-funded, vitriolic cadre of our fellow Americans and foreign interests are at war with the very values of faith in God, fidelity to our Constitution, and respect for the principles of liberty and Western civilization that define us as Americans, including nobly notably the free speech practiced and exemplified by Charlie Kirk, the congressman added. Those leftist networks, at least at some level, include the U.S. institutions of higher education, colleges and universities. That's right, yeah. And high schools as well now, that have become dens of radical leftism, safe spaces for Marxist, America hating ideology at taxpayers' expense. Okay. All right, and this is written by Matt Kittle, senior elections correspondent for the Federalist. All right, so it looks like some people at least are at least giving lip service to the idea of going after these people. We'll have to wait and see what is going to be happening with this. So, in the midst of all this, of course, we are less than a month away from the Ride of Iron Freedom Festival, which is being held indoors this year for reasons completely unrelated to Charlie Kirk's murder. But I'm afraid that some people may take our relocation indoors as a sign of somehow retreating in the face of danger or something like that, even though it actually has nothing to do with that. But we will see how this continues to develop. But it may be that this will be another instance where the media will decide that the Ride of Iron Freedom Festival is something that they want to cover because it is being held at this particular time. Remember the blessing that we had on February 28th of 2018, was it? I believe so, of 2018, yeah. Um, to us, it was not, I mean, of course, it was all blessings are special, but it was not any more newsworthy than any other blessing. But of course, the entire world of media descended on us, and we had television cameras lined up on the top level there of the Newfoundland sanctuary, and well, it's an experience that I will never forget for sure. So this year at the Ride Around Freedom Festival, we might have a similar type of experience. We'll have to wait and see. So the media, they're very um, tribal. They're very sort of pack oriented, and if they decide to go in one direction, and they all go rushing in that direction, I don't know, like some kind of a small animal or something. So we'll have to wait and see, but it is possible. So please uh, keep that event in your prayers, and please uh, also volunteer in whatever capacity that you can, because each person who is there will be a part of the security, even if it is indirectly. I'm sure we will have, of course, the professional security people and stuff like that, but the more people from our faith community are there, the safer it is going to be, because we'll be able to dominate that space that much more clearly. Um, yes, we'll see what happens. What happens with that? Okay. Praise God. Praise God. Though. Okay. All right. Moving on now. Moving on, and there are a lot of stories on this assassination, and especially Breitbart basically is sort of wall to wall stories on this assassination, as if nothing else is occurring in the world. And this worries me just a bit because, while it is very historic and I think maybe one of the most important events to happen, definitely this year, this decade, and perhaps a long time to come, still, there's a lot of other stuff happening. And remember, we need to keep our eye on the ball. And the ball is what? The Chinese Communist Party. Bringing down the Chinese Communist Party, which may somehow be in the background of this of Charlie Kirk's assassination. By the way, when Congress starts to investigate the funding and stuff like that, I would not be surprised, shocked perhaps, but not surprised that some of the funding comes from the Chinese Communist Party and the United Front Workers Committee. Um, So if that happens, then tensions between the United States and China should, by all accounts, should uh, become very, very tense. Should become very, very tense. We cannot have them um, destroying our country in this way. But nothing is proven right now. Right now, everything is sort of underground. And President Trump has mentioned George Soros, and of course, he is a bad guy. There's no doubt about that. By the way, it's Alex Soros now, his son, who is the center of this. But he may not be the worst one, right? Xi Jinping may be even worse than George Soros. So let's keep our eye out for that and not get too distracted away from the mission to destroy the Chinese Communist Party. That is what is really important here in this time and age. Now, I did want to do this economic story, which I don't know how to segue into this. I don't see any way that I can. Anyway, so, but Congressional Budget Office says that unemployment, inflation, and GDP growth will be worse this year than projected. Well, this is projected, so we will have to see. But projections influence people's behaviors. For example, if you are expecting inflation to go up, then you're less likely to buy stuff, or you're more likely to buy stuff. I guess you're more likely to buy stuff, but it can influence people's behavior in that way. Donald Trump's tariff policy, immigration crackdowns, and sweeping tax and spending law are expected to increase jobless rates and inflation and lower overall growth this year before they improve next year, according to a new report from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. So that's interesting. Lower growth this year before they improve next year. And in the midterm elections, just 14 months or so from now, I guess, how the economy is doing in the 2 months, 2 or 3 months, but especially 2 months leading up to the election, is going to be very, very influential on the outcome of the election. The CBO on Friday released a new economic projections for the next 3 years, updating the outlook it originally released in January before Trump's inauguration. The latest figures, which compare quarter changes, show the unemployment rate, inflation, and overall growth are expected to be worse this year than initially projected, while economic picture is expected to steady in subsequent years. That's good. Okay. Well, as long as it steadies next year and improves next year, I think we'll be all right. The CBO expects real GDP growth to decrease from 2.5 in 2024 to 1.4 this year, a downgrade from the initial projection of 1.9. And it attributes the projected decline to a slowdown in consumer spending stemming from new tariffs, etc. And then the unemployment expected at 4.5 in 2025, higher than the 4.3 initially expected. And then 4.2, so to improve to 4.2 in 2026, lower than the 4.4 originally anticipated, and even out at 4.4 in 2027 and 2028. And inflation is now expected at 3.1 for the rest of 2025, according to the CBO. But we'll see how this actually turns out in reality. These projections are often, perhaps usually, wrong, but they still influence policy. So we do need to take a look at them. Okay. What's this about? Taiwan expels Chinese Coast Guard ship close to Pratas Island. Shall we take a look at that? Okay, this is a video. Okay. Okay. The video. Okay, better not play that. Okay. Let's see here. The Guardian, or leftist, of course, paper, very leftist paper. Charlie Kirk's outsized influence on the MAGA movement. He changed the ground game. Okay. And waves of fake threats to colleges are putting students on edge and testing dispatchers. I think for a while we can expect that kind of thing, sort of the copycat type of stuff, and also the people who feel that they want to take revenge on the left for this killing. Trump National Guard troops heading to Memphis to fight crime. And actually, the senator from Tennessee is in favor of that. Over 1 million urged to stay out of the ocean in Florida. And there's an Autopen probe going on. Single dad share with us a hard truth you had to learn about parenthood. When a young man becomes a father for the first time, uh, it really is a life-changing event. Um, you know, a few years ago you were alone, and then somehow you have a wife, then you're two. Now you got this little thing about this big that you also got to take care of. That is a truly life-changing event that you've created a new life. And myself included, I think a lot of new fathers uh, sort of are at a loss, really, to some extent or another. Maybe you've read books, maybe people have talked to you, but really at a loss as to how to be a good father. And we tend to fall back on what our fathers taught us, which may not be so good, but we tend to fall back on our own experience as a child, what we saw as a father, what we experienced from our fathers. And that's sort of the default uh, uh, thing that we fall back on, which is unfortunate. And I think the advantage that we have in our faith community is that uh, the Second King is putting a lot of effort into teaching young men how to be good husbands and good fathers. And his wife, the Queen, is teaching young women how to be good wives and good mothers. So I think over time, our community is going to thrive because of that. I think that we will have a lower, uh, how should I say, lower rate of people sort of leaving the community, lower rate. Of course, not everyone's going to stay, but a lower rate than before. Because, and the reason for that will be because of this teaching of how to love, how to love. We all want love and we all want to give love, but um, it's something that has to be learned because we are not taught it as children. We all grow up in imperfect families, imperfect to one extent or another. We all grow up in imperfect families. Um, and so we need to learn as young parents or men and women preparing to become parents, we need to learn uh, how to give love to our spouse and also to our children. And that's extremely important. And I think that's an the video that is linked below in the description. I think is one tool for that. But I've seen other talks by the king, but I think this is truly one of the best, or perhaps the best that he has given that I'm aware of. So I encourage everyone to take a look at that. All right, let's see what else is going on. Let's go to. I guess we'll go to Newsmax, although I. Okay. Just going to be wall to wall also. Okay, let's see if they have anything else. Well, let's see. All right, well, I have some stuff that's not Charlie Kirk related. So appeals court says White House can end legal protections for more than 400,000 migrants. Okay. And Rubio to visit Israel as UN weighs Palestinian state. And actually, the UN General Assembly has voted in favor of a two-state solution. But the UN General Assembly uh, has very little actual power. It's the Security Council that holds all the power. And Qatari Prime Minister meet Trump. Your age. It shares drop in report tying vaccines to 25 kids' deaths. Let's take a look at this. What kind of vaccine? COVID-19. Shares of pharmaceutical giants Moderna and Pfizer fell Friday after a report that federal health officials plan to link COVID-19 vaccines to the deaths of 25 children, CNBC reported. The Washington Post reported Friday that officials plan to include the claim in a presentation next week to a vaccine panel that advises the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Findings appear to be based on information submitted to the Federal Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, known as VAERS, that contains unverified reports of side effects or bad experiences with vaccines, the report added. The presentation is not final, though, the Post said. FDA and CDC staff routinely analyze VAERS and other safety monitoring data, and those reviews are being shared publicly through the established ACIP process. A spokesperson for the Department of Health and Human Services told the news outlet, referencing the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. Until that is shared publicly, any information on this should be considered pure speculation. Pfizer's stock fell more than 3% Friday, and shares of Moderna dropped more than 7%. Regulators in more than 90 countries have not identified any new or undisclosed concerns in children or pregnant women for Moderna's COVID-19 shot, the company said in an email response. So at the end there, put in the obligatory propaganda for the pharmaceutical company. Pharmaceutical companies have a hold that they have on American media and politics is just astounding. Um, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. One reason that I think drug prices are so high is that you're paying for all that advertising and lobbying that the companies do. Let's see here. Trump renews RICO charges, a threat against Soros. Okay. All right. I'm skipping over the Charlie Kirk stuff. Russia and Belarus launched military exercise. And Trump patience with Putin is running out. Hmm. Okay. And let's see here. John Bolton, that guy. Mhm. All right. Well, Okay, it looks like all that we can get from there. Let's go to someplace else. Like I said, Breitbart is just absolutely wall to wall, Harley Kirk. Um, I don't want to, take away from the importance of that, but that's not the only thing that's going on in the world. See what to, this is MSN, so they're very leftist. U.S. issues Nepal warning as Gen Z revolts. And Nepal situation, I think, seems to have quieted down somewhat. They have a new interim prime minister, a woman. Um, and I saw one video that said that this was kind of a blow to the Chinese Communist Party because the outgoing prime minister, the one that ran away, was very close to China. And but the new prime minister is said to be an interim, it's a woman, and so I think the politics there maybe still be very fluid. I think this is a photograph of this is the main administrative building for the Nepal government. And so the State Department has urged Americans to reconsider travel to Nepal following widespread Gen Z-led protests that left several dead and more injured. Well, not just several. I think now 30 is the latest number that I've seen, but and more than 400 injured. Nepal has been gripped by mass youth-led protests after the government banned several popular social media platforms. Again, it's not several; it was 26. What's going on here? Who wrote this? Alia Chubby seems to be minimizing the situation there. While the recent protests were sparked by a social media ban, protesters said that they had been impelled by years of government corruption, failure to provide young people with economic opportunities. Yeah, unemployment around or for young people is very high. Oh, look, it says 51 people died. Okay, it's not several, it's 51. That's not several. Many in clashes with police as officers fired tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters. So this does not make sense to me. That there's something wrong with that sentence. The rubber bullets. I've never been shot with a rubber bullet, but I understand that it hurts a lot. But they, generally speaking, don't kill. So if 51 people are going to die, right, and I don't know if these are all demonstrators, maybe some other people died. Well, for example, one woman burned to death actually. But it seems to me that there's some live fire going on here. But I keep seeing this sentence in all sorts of stories about police officers firing tear gas and rubber bullets and not actually firing live ammunition. But 51 people dead? I don't know. Okay, so the State Department on Thursday raised its travel advisory for Nepal from level 2 to level 3, urging travelers to reconsider travel due to civil unrest. And so they've got curfews in place, and major protests from earlier this week have quietened. The country remains tense as troops patrol the city and efforts to put an interim government in place continue. So as you can see here again, we see that the troops, in other words, the people with the guns ultimately are the ones that make the rules. The State Department warned that further unrest could break out and more curfews could be implemented with little warning. The advisory also warned that emergency services in Nepal have limited ability to respond to personal emergencies at the moment. It also noted that some hotels in Kathmandu and Pokhara had been set on fire during the arrest. Yeah, apparently the what is it, Kathmandu Hilton or something like that. When it was the largest hotel in Kathmandu was burned. Um, Travelers who are in Nepal are advised to avoid large gatherings, have an emergency plan that does not depend on U.S. government assistance. The Marines ain't coming for you. And be prepared to evacuate hotels at short notice. Right. Yeah. The Marines only go for the powerful people, all right? Only for the politicians and the diplomats and so forth, and the rest of us. As I was telling one American diplomat a long time ago, in case of Korea, 15 minutes after the first bomb falls on Seoul, the roads are going to be so crammed with vehicles that no one's going to go anywhere, and so yeah, I've I've been living in Korea off and on for 20 years, but I've never once thought that in an emergency the U.S. Military would come to help me at all. That I and my family would be on our own. Yes. So anyway, that's the way it is. All right. So this is Saturday, right? This is Saturday. So I will see you on Monday. I'll see you on Monday. We'll see what happens over the weekend. Of course, Monday, uh, we should have some news about Hak Jahan. No updates today, but by this time Monday, we should have some news about what happened with Hak Jahan. Did she show? Did she not? If she didn't, what are they going to do about it? And so forth and so on. So I'll see you then. God bless, Godspeed. May His kingdom come quickly.